Hold up, before you shoot the messenger, just consider it. What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to my channel, Slade Sanctuary. Thank y'all so very much for being here. And like, share, subscribe if you guys like me and appreciate my energy, because I appreciate y'all too. But today's video is all about seeking intent, like the intro said. And this is specifically in a conversation with people. A lot of times we get confused and confounded when people say things that they don't really mean. Because we all know by now that people don't always say what they necessarily mean, especially when it comes to heated arguments and jealousy and all sorts of types of human behavior. And we all know by now that a lot of humans struggle with articulating their feelings properly, and they'll misconstrue how they truly feel just because they're all over the place. They don't know exactly what they feel, and so sometimes we all go into defense mode and we just say whatever comes to our mind. So as responsive listeners, as spiritual beings, it is our duty to listen, okay? And not just to listen, but to seek intent, and specifically saying, okay, well, why would somebody say something like that? And I feel like there are a few different topics that I have learned from, a few different key points that we all can take some information from and really help discern how people say things and how they can actually mean them. So specifically, the first example is always remembering who that person is to you and how they've acted in the past. And so if this person has always been there for you, always, was that shoulder that you could cry on, was always very reliable, and then out of nowhere, they start saying some crazy things off the rip like, oh, I don't like you, or you don't appreciate me, all this crazy shit. Just take a deep breath and don't necessarily react right away, because I know our egos can put us in straight defense mode, where it's just like, oh, you think you're gonna say this, and that about me, and I'm not supposed to say nothing back? But it's not about that, okay? It's also about remembering where that person is coming from. So if this is your good friend who's always there for you, or your parent who's always been nice to you and always treated you very well, took care of you, if they're saying some crazy things, take it with a grain of salt, because you know that this doesn't line up with who they usually are to you. Consider the fact that they may just be going through something at this time, and you just need to give them an easy time and be nice with them because they've done that for you. Now, of course, if you don't know this person, or you've only known this person for a short amount of time, of course, I like to judge them right away, because I know that's not the healthiest thing to do, but I like to think that first impressions are very important. And if you are presenting yourself to someone who you don't know this way, then you obviously are very comfortable being this way, and thus I'm gonna take it very seriously. However, I also never set absolutes when I'm talking to people. I always leave room for them to surprise me, and never just to cross somebody off your list, but to give them a chance. Unless, of course, it's insulting and you don't like that person, of course, you don't feel the need to deal with their energy. I feel like another thing to pay attention to is their facial expressions and their body language. And so even in a nice way, somebody can misconstrue how they truly feel when they say, oh wow, I'm so happy for you. But they don't say it like that. They kind of just be like, oh wow, that's great. And then they change the topic and be like, okay, but here's what's going on with me. Then it's just like, damn. So I just came to you with my celebratory type of news, and we can't even talk about it for more than 5 seconds without you pulling the conversation back to yourself. That's often a sign of jealousy. And not necessarily where you have to call them out right away and all blatant for it, but it's just something to make a note of. And it's just like, I see, like maybe you think that you're trying to be supportive, but I see that you're jealous. And people who are jealous, sometimes you just need to give them space, because even people who are your best friends or people who love you the most can be very, very jealous of you. And so I also wanted to talk about passive aggressive tendencies, because I know a lot of people do this in conversations, and it's not like it's always about you, but say you're just sharing some information about yourself, and then you try to say one thing, and then the person says something negative, and then they say something positive, and then they say something negative, and it's like blatant, you know what I'm saying? Like not just negative as in criticism, but more so it's like tear you down type of stuff. Like you'll be like, yeah, I went to the party and I was looking good and I was happy because I had my new outfit, and they're just be like, what, with your sense of style? Like, no, you can't dress for shit. I've had some people do that to me, and it's funny because they'll say other days like, oh wow, I love the way you dress, and then other days like, oh no, you don't dress at all. And it's just like, okay, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of peeped how the jealousy kind of reeled in. And pay attention to their eyes specifically, because this is one thing that's very important to me in conversations is eye contact. That way I know that you're paying attention. If somebody is constantly staring at their phone while they're talking to you, or they say like scrolling through their phone like, wow, I'm so proud of you. Like, are you really? Because are you even paying attention? Or are you really just trying to wait for me to stop talking so we can talk about something else? If somebody is struggling to look you in the eye during a conversation, especially when you know them pretty well, that means that they are less concerned with whatever the hell you're saying because they'd rather be looking at something else. And wherever you're looking, that's where your energy, that's where your attention is going. And so if somebody's looking at their phone every time you talk, or say somebody is looking at the wall, they can't even look at you, or looking in a different direction, that just is letting you know that they're not fully concerned with whatever's going on with you. And there are also, of course, context clues within a conversation to see the intent behind what people say. And that's me bringing the topic back to passive-aggressive tendencies, because context clues can be found in what they say and how frequently or infrequently they are speaking. And so if they're constantly pulling from different topics and jumping from topic to topic, and you know that's not really regular for them, but the fact that they can't concentrate on one thing, or especially if you're talking about yourself or anything to do with yourself and they keep changing the topic, that shows you that they don't really care. And I know some people out here have ADHD or they can be scatterbrained, but that's not the point, because when you are really engaged, when you care about somebody, you communicate with them, you give them your full attention. But if they're constantly changing the topic and they say, damn, look what happened with Zoe in blah, 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 or guess what happened yesterday, or you know, like, or look what happened on the TV or something, and it's just like, okay, I was just talking. And I know some people do that, my parents do that all the time. Doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care, but I do know that about them. That is usual behavior for them. And that's what I meant about know who these people are to you. Because if this is your best friend who always gives you their attention, but then they start pulling this shit up, then that's when you peep it and you're like, hold up, this isn't regular for you. Why are you acting like this? Are you jealous? Are you mad? Whatever the case is. And the best way to address it, in my opinion, is just to say it outright. Not necessarily to say it outright and just accuse them and be like, oh my God, you're so much jealous of me or anything like that. Just be like, hey, is everything all right? Because, you know, I was kind of talking, you keep cutting me off. Like, I'm a little bit confused, you know what I'm saying? Come very soft and come open as well. Don't be so direct and don't be so certain in your mind. Because especially if you don't know what people are going through and if you don't know what they're thinking, then this can create issues when you think that you know exactly what they're thinking and you don't. And you don't want to be called out for being wrong. And I feel like our parents do this to us all the time. Like, especially when they say something like, say you come home with your report card and they start criticizing the mess out of your grades, or they start talking about how broke you are and they're like, dang, you really need to get a job or you really need to get some money. This isn't to tear you down most of the time. Of course, know your parents, know who they are to you. Are they usually supportive or are they not? Because that's how you can really see this. But if you know that they're always there for you and then they say some things that are a little bit critical, know that they are only trying to come across as wanting the best for you. And especially with our parents, them being so much older than us, they don't necessarily know how to talk to us in a nice way. And of course, we have to give them their due respect because they did raise us, they did take care of us. So if they are saying things that are a little bit less than nice, just know that they do care about you because they kept you alive. You know what I'm saying? But overall, words can always be vague. Like, we think that we know what somebody's talking about when we eavesdrop on them, but then we actually miss all the context clues, all the facts that if we were there with them and we were actually listening to the conversation head on, that we would actually understand. So don't always take things at face value and just go with it and jump to conclusions and start accusing people and say this, and that. Of course, use your own intuition and utilize how you actually feel to discern what that person is going through or how they're handling the conversation and why they are doing it in that way. And I also wanted to say, even if you see that somebody's intent is to hurt you, somebody's intent is overly negative, don't always feel the need to defend yourself. Because in our truth, we don't always need to defend ourselves if we know it's true. If you hear some shit that's coming way out of left field and they say you're a crack addict or you're just a horrible person, you're a hoe, whatever it is, and you just know that that's not true, they know that that's not true, then just understand that and don't even give them attention and fuel their anger, fuel their chicanery by giving it attention. You can either straight up just walk away and be like, I'm not here for this bullshit, or you can, really play with them and be like, look, I understand that you're going through something and that you're a little bit confused right now, but that's completely okay. Let's just drop it and come back later. And that brings me to my last point about we don't always have to finish conversations, especially when they're heated arguments. Sometimes a lot of us get so flustered in our emotions, we just start, running off at the mouth. Mars and Gemini people, I know y'all understand me, but we just say things because we feel like our ego is in self-defense mode, that we need to defend ourselves, and that sometimes we're not even thinking about what we're saying. And so sometimes let yourself and let others really compose their emotions to have a civil, argument, or even a discussion, a debate, whatever it is. When you see somebody who's hyperventilating, when their, eyes are like wide open and they're so angry, you know that the conversation's not going to get anywhere. You know that there's no growth to be had from this situation because they're not thinking in their logical mind or their emotional mind. They're somewhere lost in ego's self-defense mode. But overall, I made this video seeking intent because I really wanted all of us to grow from this and say, you know what, instead of jumping to conclusions about arguments, let's use our intuition. Let's use our logical mind and our intuition and blend them together to really get an accurate depiction of what this person is coming with, what they are trying to say, even if they're not physically saying it, what their body, what their emotions, what their energy is saying. And that way we can just understand each other a little bit better and do away with all of this meaningless arguments just because our egos feel cornered, our egos feel threatened. We can all just take a deep breath and really compose ourselves and get to the bottom of issues without all the extra trauma, all the extra mess. And I know this video was all over the place, but if y'all made it this far, thank y'all so very much for watching this. I genuinely hope y'all grow from this and you could see my perspective, and let me know in the comments y'all's perspective on this. Any comments y'all may have had on anything I said, because I'd love to hear it. I'd love to learn from y'all. But thank y'all so very much for watching this, and I hope I see y'all soon.